Hey folks, if you've ever set up a launch monitor in your garage only to get a jumble of numbers that feel more guesswork than guidance, you know how frustrating that can be. I've spent the last few weeks comparing a handful of radar-based units, reading through the forums, and actually testing the SkyTrak STMAX on a split sheet with a 7-iron and a driver. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What I keep hearing from people on the edge of buying a launch monitor is the fear of overpaying for a gadget that sounds impressive on paper but leaves you guessing on the range. The big question is whether the data you get translates into something you can use on the course, and whether the system will stay reliable after a few months of weekly practice. That's the space I wanted to explore with the STMAX because it promises tour-level accuracy with a dual Doppler radar paired with photometric cameras, something you usually only see in high-end indoor simulators. First off, the setup experience is surprisingly straightforward. The unit arrives in a solid-looking charcoal case, and you literally plug the two USB-C cables into power in your laptop or tablet, then launch the SkyTrak software. The on-screen menu walks you through a quick calibration that takes less than 2 minutes, and once that's done the radar starts tracking ball speed, launch angle, spin, and club head data in real time. I was initially wary of menu friction because many launch monitors bury key settings behind layers of options, but SkyTrak keeps everything on a single dashboard, so you can switch between a quick hit-only mode for a casual session and a full data dump for a deeper practice drill without hunting through submenus. The dual Doppler radar is the heart of the system, and in practice it feels more like a conversation than a data dump. When I hit a mid-iron, the display updates within a fraction of a second, showing ball speed that matches the numbers I recorded on my own launch monitor a year ago. The photometric cameras add a layer of confidence by confirming that the radar isn't being fooled by wind gusts or stray club swings. In low-light conditions, think a basement with just a lamp, the cameras still lock onto the ball because they use a high-sensitivity sensor, which means you don't have to upgrade your lighting to get usable numbers. That's a practical win for anyone without a dedicated swing studio. Durability is another point that often gets glossed over in reviews, but the STMAX's modular internal arc is worth noting. The arc is a removable part that houses the radar and cameras, and if you ever need to replace it, you can do so without sending the whole unit back. In the 3 weeks I've been rotating it through indoor practice and a portable setup on the patio, I've not seen any drift in accuracy, and the chassis has held up to a couple of accidental bumps without any rattling. That modularity is something you'll appreciate if you plan to move the monitor between locations or upgrade components down the line. Now, who should actually consider spending the price on the STMAX? If you're a serious amateur who already tracks stats, uses a launch monitor to fine-tune club fitting, or runs a small coaching business, the depth of data ball speed, spin, launch angle, club head speed, smash factor, and even face angle gives you a granular view that's usually reserved for commercial simulators. The integrated SkyTrak software also includes skills assessments, bag mapping, and a wedge matrix, which can turn a regular practice session into a structured workout. For a golfer who already knows what they're looking for in a data point, that level of detail can shave off strokes in a measurable way. On the other hand, if you're a weekend player who just wants to see a basic distance readout or someone who primarily enjoys the social aspect of hitting balls on the range, the STMAX might be overkill. Its price point reflects the dual radar and camera tech, and while the software suite is powerful, a lot of that functionality requires a steady internet connection and a computer that meets the minimum specs. If your practice space is limited to a smartphone screen, you'll end up juggling cables and a laptop, which can feel clunky compared to a pure app solution. Practical weaknesses show up when you start pushing the system beyond its sweet spot. The unit is designed for full swing data, so it doesn't capture the nuances of short game shots like chips or lob wedges as reliably. Those shots often have lower launch speeds that fall under the radar's optimal detection range. I also noticed that the dual USB ports draw a noticeable amount of power, so you'll need a stable outlet or a high-capacity power bank if you're planning a truly mobile setup. Finally, while the photometric cameras handle low light well, they do rely on a clear line of sight to the ball. Anything that obstructs that view like a net or a bulky mat can cause occasional data gaps. One of the most telling real-world tests I ran was a speed training.